Just to let you know, this meeting will be recorded and is being recorded as a, what did you call it? Sorry.
The meeting's being recorded for future public record and will be available on YouTube within the next couple of days for any members of the public to actually view.
Thank you. Can I ask you people what are not speaking, just turn the video off, please? Could it just gives us better sound effect and everything, we can hear properly.
Okay, so first item on the agenda is public health.
Okay. Who's introducing now?
Julia. Hi, Julia. Julia's on the screen, councillor.
Hello, Julia.
Hello. Great to be here. So can I start?
Sorry, can't hear you.
Okay. I'll move closer to my laptop. Can you hear me now?
No.
Can you hear me?
Just about.
Oh dear. Okay, I'll start off with, we've been having a downward trend in case rates. So the case rates have been declining across Birmingham. So we've had in the last 7 days, we've had a overall decrease by 8.9%. Now, when it comes to your specific ward, there's been a very slight increase. So it's moved to 101.7 case rates per 100,000. And so you rank 13th out of 69 wards, with 1 being the highest and 69th being the lowest. So in terms of the case rate by age group, we see the highest case rates among the 20 to 29 and then the 40 to 59. Your rates are slightly higher than Birmingham across Birmingham average. And then it's much lower in the 0 to 19 and the over 18, so that's good. Now, when you come to the case rates by ethnic groups, there's a much higher proportion among the white ethnic groups, with much lower proportion across the other ethnic groups. Your testing rates, is fairly okay, 13,000 rates per 100,000, and with a positivity rate of about 0.7, similar to Birmingham average. Now, uptake has been pretty good across. There's been an increase in uptake across the whole of the cohort 1 to 9. We have across Birmingham 667 COVID champions, and for your ward, there are just 3. Now, the COVID champions are quite crucial. They tend to receive case rate updates, and they also receive information which they can share with their community. So it will be very good for people within your ward to register to be COVID champions to help around. That's about it in terms of update. Happy to take any questions.
Julie, when you say the white ethnic, what do you mean?
Okay, so the white ethnic groups have, when you compare in terms of case rates to Birmingham average, you have about 68% compared to 40%, 41% in Birmingham. So you have a much higher proportion of the white ethnic groups with, COVID cases.
Do you mean amongst people like Polish and?
Well, they didn't specify. It's just, they just grouped them all as white ethnic, and then there's another group unknown, so we don't know what that proportion is, but it's a very small proportion.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other questions?
There's no other questions that have been put in the chat box, councillor, unless any members of the public that are on would like to ask any questions.
I think you had an easy night, Julie.
Okay.
How do you want how can I go about trying to get some more champions?
I guess it's I mean, I guess the chancellors can help, promoting it across the ward and showing that others have joined in, and they've been doing great work. So you receive the updates in terms of case, which you will share with your community, and all the messages around guidelines will also be shared with you. So whoever it is that takes up that, that has been helpful in terms of uptake in the testing as well as the vaccine uptake as well. Although there isn't, I mean, when you look across the whole cohort, your ward has done quite well, but there's room for improvement actually. So that can be improved.
Okay, I can put it out on one of the local groups that we've got now that's picking up a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right then. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think next on the agenda is Les Williams from Waste.
Yes, good evening, Councillor. Good evening,
Les.
everybody. Thanks for the invite to coming along this evening. Bit of an update on waste management and street scene, if I can, Councillor. Obviously, we've worked tirelessly through the pandemic, and we've been able to maintain a good level of service. We are making changes as we speak. We are just about to embark on a recruitment exercise, which is going to increase our street, well, not increase, it's going to change our agency workers on street cleansing, potentially to full-time employees. So we see that as a real positive for us. And we're also just about to recruit to a new service called Love Your Streets. What that entails is it's just a small group of people, around about 15, that work across the city in some of our troubled areas, some of our hotspots, some of the high streets, and they'll be out there doing some cleaning, some residents engaging. What comes with them is some additional dumping crews. So we've recognised that dumping across the city is quite high at the moment. It's not unique to Birmingham, it's countrywide, but we've been able to get some additional funding, and that will allow us to get some more dumping crews out on the streets looking at our real bad hotspots. It's also allowed us to increase graffiti teams, so graffiti seems to be on the rise as well. So we've got another 4 crews, I believe it is, that will be working across the city. And where it's centrally based currently, we'll probably have one based in Pedestrian Depot. That will be able to act a little bit quicker should we see any graffiti around Pedestrian's area. You probably noticed just before and just after Christmas, we've had some new refuse collection vehicles. This is improving our performance. The old vehicles that we've got on hire, some of our really old owned vehicles, were just about on the last legs. So we've took delivery of a number of vehicles so far, and we've got some more to come in through April, May and early June. And overall, that would be an increase of around 70 new vehicles across the city. You may or may not have seen as well that our small mechanical sweepers that work on the pavements, we've got a new fleet of them, which we've had delivered in the last month or so. So we've procured another 31 of those across the city. I think what that looks like in Pedestrian is 8 new ones. So they're much quieter. Obviously, when they're newer, they break down less, and they do a better job, obviously. We are looking forward to the summer to make our changes that we need to make. The recruitment, as I suggest, is going to go ahead as soon as I'm talking weeks now rather than months, dare I say. And I think that's about all as an update. The performance in the depot, the miscollections on recycling and residual are a little higher than what we would like. And I'm tasking the depot to look at that and see what changes within rounds we can make, so we can make it a little better for people, dare I say, and a bit more efficient. Our new trucks will have an impact on that, because it's predominantly the recycling that's suffered, and a good proportion of our new vehicles are recycling trucks. So other than that, the dumping around Pype's ward we measure across the city, it is quite low, but we still have got an issue in Pype's that we plan to tackle. So that's all I've got to update. But was any question? Oh, sorry, there was another thing. Peribar Depot. It's been there since the 1970s, and we're just about to regenerate it. We're going to literally knock it down from the front gate to the back wall, and we're going to put in a brand new bespoke transfer station of the 22nd century, should I say. So all the waste to be stored under shelter. So it take away a lot of noise, it smells, etc., etc. We haven't got an exact start date, but we feel within the next couple of months at the longest. It shouldn't have any impact on collections. So we're taking alternative routes for some of our waste, where we might deliver paper straight to the paper mill rather than transfer it from the depot. But it shouldn't have any impact whatsoever on the residents. That's all I've got to update. If anyone's got any questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer.
Has anybody got any questions before us? There's a couple.
No, there's nothing from the public, councillor. So if you want
Les,
to ask your questions.
You know the new beach sweepers, you call them?
Sorry, councillor, the mini sweepers.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, yes, yes.
I'm getting old, Les. That's what we used to call them.
Yeah, you and me both. Yeah.
Do you know which areas they're going into?
I will say across the whole depot, the mini sweepers we've replaced the whole fleet. So the split, the rule of thumb is about 1.5 wards per sweeper. So Pype will have 3/4 of a sweeper, but we might identify that, say, Pype might need more, so you might get a whole sweeper. If it's any use to yourself, councillor, I'll invite you down to the depot and we can go through what sweepers do across your ward and what crews do.
Okay.
And then we can share that with obviously your local residents as well then.
Yeah. Once I'm allowed out to lockdown on Monday, yeah, we can arrange. It's all right, I've been in lockdown for 12 months. The other thing is, you know, the road sweepers, the big ones.
Yes. Yes.
How often are they coming round?
We should see a large mechanical sweeper. It's usually about every 2 weeks their rotas are. Obviously, the build up to Christmas when we're clearing leaves, the rotas change a bit because they get bogged down with leaves, and tipping. But you should be seeing about a 2-week schedule on the sweeper. So if you're not, let me know where and we can look at that.
Okay, thank you.
And probably when you visit us, we can share all that information with yourself.
That's great, Les. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda is car rental and highways.
You okay, Carl?
Good afternoon, councillor. Yes, I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Yes, I was going to give you an update on highways, measures that we're doing in your ward. Very briefly, the kind of things that we do for anybody watching. I'm the local engineering manager for Sutton, Erdington, Pype, Peribar, right the way through to the West Brom football ground. And my team provide measures like traffic calming, humps, cushions, yellow lines, single, double, red, parking bays, disabled bays, H markings, all manner of things we get involved in. Also look after 30 car parks, pound display car parks. So quite a busy setup around our third of Birmingham. And specifically in your ward, in Pype, this year we seem to be very busy. We are doing a large scheme that we're out in consultation on now as we speak. Scheme for Inland Road, Round Road, Summerley Road, Glenthorne Road, Bromford Crescent, and all the small side roads off there. Up to and including Brecon Road, Elmwood Road. So a large scheme, a large number of roads. as I say, we're consulting with the residents at the moment, and what we're looking to do is to bring that area into a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, which, you know, whilst not everybody adheres to 20 mile an hour, at least if the one at the front is doing it, then everybody behind has to. And also, when it's 30, people may do 35, 36. Hopefully when it's 20, you know, even if they do a little bit more, it's still significantly less than previous. So that's a large scheme we're working on at the moment. We're also going to introduce a pedestrian refuge on Kingsbury Road. It's jointly within the Pype ward and Erdington ward. The boundary is the centre of the road. We had requests from a blind family perhaps 2-3 years ago. There was a need identified to assist people crossing from the nearby Fir Tree Road across Kingsbury Road, enable for them to access the bus shelters and for children on the school run. So it's taken a couple of years or so to get the funding due to other priorities, but we're now able to start work on that, and we'll do a pedestrian refuge in the centre of the road. And we'll drop the curbs with some tactile pavings on either side of the road. So basically you can walk up to the edge of the road on the tactile crossing, which are designed to let blind and partially sighted know they're at a place to cross. They'll then be able to cross halfway and wait in a refuge in the middle, and then cross to the other side. So hopefully that'll make a huge difference to the people that requested that and to all of the users. Finally, another large scheme we've been working on. We started work on a Safe Routes to School scheme at Yenton Primary School, which is in Erdington. During this scheme, where we consulted on a number of measures to help ease and control the parking situation around the school, we also consulted on bringing the speed limit down on that section of Chester Road from Orphanage Road to Pitts Farm Road down to 30 mile an hour. It's currently 40. Unfortunately and very sadly, there was a fatality near to Pitts Farm Road on or by the crossing, and that made us rethink that in actual fact this was literally a few yards outside of where we was going to bring it down to 30 mile an hour. So what we did is reconsult, and we're now looking to bring the entire section of Chester Road down to 30 mile an hour that is currently 40. And this is both sides of the dual carriageway from Orphanage Road, but now right the way down to past Eachlehurst Road to where it becomes 30 anyway. So hopefully the consultation, if it hasn't finished, it's very close, and very soon people will notice the 40 mile an hour repeater signs will disappear, and the 40 mile an hour signs on the side roads will disappear, and the road will become 30, and the only signs will be where you're coming from a 40 to the 30. So there will be some signage on Tyburn Road and Eachlehurst Road where they terminate to say, you know, coming into a 30 for Chester Road. But Department for Transport guidelines are you don't put repeater signs on a road that is 30. Basically, every road is 30 unless indicated otherwise. So a lot of work in Pype's ward, which is really good news. A lot of investment gone in this year, and then we can begin to have conversations with your councillor soon on next year's funding to see what your priorities and those of the residents are. That's my update, councillor. Oh, one other thing, I did check Tyburn Road again today prior to this meeting. I am aware Keir Highways have got a lot of work to do there. Works have been agreed, I believe, in the gravelly side from sort of Bromford Lane inbound. But I have liaised with Kier Highways and the steward, because I'm well aware, especially after today's visit, just to double check, that from Liddell it gets worse, from Liddell up to Chester Road, and a number of potholes remain. A number have been filled in, but perhaps, being well trafficked, if I'm being kind, and it's a pretty rough ride. So we are constantly onto Kia and liaising with them to see when we can have some significant investment on Tyburn Road. And at that, I'm happy to take any questions from yourself and from any public.
There's no questions from the public, Councillor Sharp, but if you've got questions.
Thank you. When's it going to come into force on the Chester Road card? I know you say you're out of consultation. I just wondered.
Yeah, I believe consultation is either imminent to finish or has finished. And I know an order is on for the signs. So we could even just simply be waiting for the signs that have been ordered to be delivered and to be installed. Once that process has taken place, the scheme is audited by our Terro services to make sure everything we've said on the plans we're going to do has been done in the right place and is correct, so it can then be legally enforced. Once that takes place, it then gets sealed with legal services and becomes legally enforceable. I would estimate perhaps a few short weeks.
The other thing on the Tyburn Road where you're just on about Liddell's and that.
Yes.
It's getting to such a state now where people are dodging and going round the potholes. And I can just see a bad accident happening one day.
Yes, I will write to Keir again. As I say, I was out this afternoon prior to this meeting just to have a double check, and I will write to Keir and bring it to their attention and ask that they keep, inspect it again and keep it in a safe condition until some permanent repairs can be done. So I will do that.
I'll send you an email I've had off them today, all right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is John Mole and the Commonwealth Games Fund.
Good evening, all.
Good evening,
Councillor. It might come as a shock to some, but apparently Birmingham City Council has got the Commonwealth Games. So a quick hurrah for all of us. Part of that, however, is what's been called the Celebrating Communities Pot and Grant Fund. Now, why have we got it? We've got it because we want everybody to celebrate the Commonwealth Games. So we're looking towards our local community residents, community groups, for their involvement. And as such, constituted, unconstituted and grassroots community groups can apply to the fund. I've got to stress here, we're trying to get it from our local communities. This isn't about Birmingham City Council having a few good ideas and trying to enact them. There are three main key themes that we have to look for when we're actually applying for a grant. The first element is getting active. So that's encouraging communities to get out and to get active by participating in sports and recreational activities. The second element that we've got is Ready, Steady, Fun. That's delivering community projects to ensure your local area is games ready and hosting community celebrations to develop active citizenship and reduce loneliness and social isolation. It's hard to get my tongue around at this hour. And the third element is celebrating culture. That's developing community-led cultural events and initiatives that encourage intergenerational activities. Proposed schemes must harness the power of culture to bring people together, celebrate their identities and their culture, heritage and stories of their communities. Now, you don't have to have all three of those elements. So long as you touch on one of those elements, then a potential bid is certainly would go through to the next stage. The financial criteria is an interesting one because you can apply between £100 per grant and up to 10,000. And it's probably wise to point out at this point that Pype's ward allocation is 17,500. All of the funding must be committed by August 2022. However, we are also very much aware that we're in a pandemic right now. And if organisations find that they can't actually commit their money that we've agreed with them, by August 22, we'll be as lenient and as flexible as we possibly can. Small and new groups which are not constituted may apply under the umbrella of a constituted group. So if you've got a small, I don't know, say you've got a little small group of residents that want to have a quick party somewhere and they haven't got a bank account, then we will try and find them a sponsor of some description. Coming into this, we've also got from the Commonwealth team now 2 city designated officers who will be helping small community groups and the larger groups, and they're actually employed from the Commonwealth team. And there will be 10 district anchor agencies who will be the first port of call for any queries and any issues. The constituted organisations can then actually purchase items or services to a group's on their collective behalf. This means that groups do not need a bank account in order to apply to the fund. Again, what we're trying to do is make certain that this is community led. We don't want the usual big faces coming along and spoiling the game. Funding can be used to cover most types of community activities, including core costs, that's essential running costs, revenue costs, new and existing projects, and one-off initiatives. What we can't support is the usual sort of elements, which is for profit businesses, national programmes without a specific benefit to Birmingham, or any project that's outside of Birmingham, projects within a ward that don't have a ward plan. And I think this is a critical point that we do need to mention. Every ward has to have a ward plan, and there's also a priority list that comes with that. Hopefully the priorities of a ward plan will actually indicate some of the ideas and activities that we might want to actually see. Applications for round 1 will be accepted until the 1st of June 2021. That's only the first stage though, and I've got to stress this so we don't have a mad panic, because there is a round 2 that will open up from October 2021. So there is plenty of time. That said, if we can get some small or large projects off the ground immediately, all the better. But it is just a stress. Let's get it right. We don't need to rush and we don't need to panic. What will happen once a bid has actually been received? It will then come back to the ward forum so that the ward forum can discuss it. Very much the way we have in the past, councillor, where we've had neighbourhood renewal funding, community chest, and all the extra funding like local innovations fund. So it will come back to the ward for a solid and robust discussion. Once that happens, it then goes to a panel to make certain it fits all of the criteria and it's a legitimate bid and it fits all the usual issues of is it of a benefit to the actual games? Is it going to work for us? And then from there, we will then award monies and we'll do them via condition to grant aid, again, to make it as quick and as simple a process as we possibly can. And I think that's my whistle stop tour, councillor. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Is there any questions, Leslie?
No, we haven't got any questions at the moment, but I think we have got 3 members of the public who may want to ask a question that I think are new to the ward. So if they want to put anything in the chat box or put their hands up, please feel free. If you got any questions, councillor, for John.
Just a quick one, John. I mentioned this to you before about Solar Park.
Yes.
You're getting that involved in the Commonwealth Games.
Yep.
How quick could that be get sorted out? Because I won't be here after 2022.
I'm sure we can have it in place before you go, Mike. You're looking for a plaque?
Oh yeah, because I mean it's been there a long time, and there's a number of residents there who would like to see the bits of equipment we got done up, but up to a standard where we could actually be seen to be doing something to the Commonwealth Games, if you know what I mean.
Well, it fits the criteria. It fits that first criteria about getting fit, getting healthy, getting activity, and there's a link to the Commonwealth Games. So from that perspective, it certainly fits that side. What we will need, councillor, is it's going to be a community group that pitches it. So the Birmingham City Council can't pitch it. So we will need a community group that we can actually utilise and work with. And then from that, then yes, certainly we can get the processes in place.
Okay, I'll have to ask round there because, as you know, the people who used to look after it have now passed on to other pastures. So it looks like we may have to start up a new group to get this done.
Potentially, councillor, but there is also, I believe, a youth group that's going to be speaking later in your forum. Perhaps we could have a conversation with them, because I've worked with Urban Devotion for years and they're a very solid organisation. So if we can't find something from a local perspective, perhaps Urban Devotion, who are a local group to the Erdington district, could come and help.
Urban Devotion, yeah. Okay. That would be great.
We've got a question from, well, we've got a hand up from Andy Windmill. Would you like to put your camera on, Andy?
Hi, yeah, and good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, John. Yeah, I think just to support that. So Ruth, who's also on the call, is part of our team who's leading on a new project for us in Pype Hayes. So we're working with Trev and Kat Mearden at St Mary's Church and are just beginning to develop relationships with young people. So we'd be really up for collaborating and supporting anything that's going to make Pype Hayes a more welcoming area for children and young people. And certainly from our initial conversations over the last couple of months, there's a real appetite for young people to have activities and spaces that are geared towards them.
So would you be prepared to get involved in this, Andy, about sorting out Sorrel Park?
Yeah, definitely would have a conversation. I mean, we try and work in a way which is very much led by the community. So I live in Perry Common, have done so for the last 18 years, and we work across 4 other estates. So Pype Hayes is very much new for us. And so at the moment, it is really about being on the streets and listening to people. But certainly if that's a message that's coming from young people on the streets, then we'd be massively supportive of that. And I mean, Sorrel Park, it's crying out, isn't it, to have some investment and to have some vibrancy around it. So it sounds good to me.
We used to have a youth club in the church that's next to it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's still there, but when it was there, we used to use Sorrel Park a lot, you know, to get the kids off the street but because it's slowly falling apart, shall I say.
Sure.
I think if we could revamp it, especially Amish at the Commonwealth Games, and get some of the older youths in there, I think we could do a lot.
Yeah, well, let's definitely start a conversation.
Okay. What do you think, John?
Yeah, most definitely, councillor. I mean, it fits the bill, because if you can't find a local residents group, Urban Devotion are there, they're constituted, they're ready to go. So, and I know they're keen to work in the area. And as I said, I have worked with them for years. They are an excellent organisation. I've got nothing but the utmost time and respect for the organisation as it works.
Well, I can remember when they first come to Tyburn many, many years ago.
Well, I can remember when they first started, councillor, so I've been around far too long to be perfectly truthful.
No comment. Is there anybody else who'd like to say anything?
There's no more questions coming through, so unless there's any more questions, then you can draw the meeting to a close. John, would you like to put your contact details or the details of the Commonwealth Games Fund in the chat box?
Yeah, so, I mean, what we could do, Leslie, I'll actually circulate a briefing note as well, which I think would be quite useful. The one thing I would say is that we have actually, as I've said, we've got a couple of officers that will be working across the city, and there are anchor agencies that will probably be the first port of call. So once we've got those, I'll circulate their contact names and numbers.
Okie dokie, thanks, John.
Okay, I cheer off everybody.
Oh yes, so Reverend Trevor Marsden's joined the meeting.
You're right, Trevor.
Don't know whether he can hear.
Hi, sorry. Really unstable network, sorry.
You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Sorry, can't get my phone to do this very well, so yeah, apologies for that.
You're supposed to be the high-tech person in Pype.
I mean, that's a very high honour, but I'm not sure I'm worthy of it.
Is there anything you'd like to add or say or ask any questions?
I know, I was just listening into all the conversation. It was really good. I'm really pleased that, you know, there are lots of things which are coming up in the area, which is going to be revitalising some of the stuff which is happening. Keen to get involved in different ways. So if there are people who want to contact me, please do. I'd love to hear from people in the community, because obviously it's been tricky getting to know people during this time. So yeah, if anyone has got some ideas that they'd like to link up with stuff from the church, the site's getting revitalised as well. So in the next year, we'll be a very different building and hopefully multi-use all through the week as well. So lots of possibilities for some community action and community groups there.
That's right. Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to say anything?
No, I can't see any other questions, councillor.
Okay.
Okay.
So do we need to try and arrange another meeting, Leslie, for the future, or?
I think that's probably in about, John, what
Yeah, if I may,
scale do you
Councillor,
think?
because I think let's gear the next one probably around the Commonwealth Games, because
Okay.
what will happen is once we've got some good solid bids in,
2022.
we can do it a lot quicker than that, Councillor. I'm sure of that. Once let's have a couple of really good bids in, and let's come back to your ward forum, because that's the official way to actually do it. So we can have a broad discussion about it, and we'll advertise it as much as possible to get as much community connection and consultation in as we possibly can.
And you'll let Leslie know when?
Yeah, absolutely. I work very closely with Leslie, so that's not a problem.
I want to know. Thank you.
Okay then. So I'll let you say goodbye, Councillor.
Can I thank everybody for coming?
Yes, you can.
It certainly is a different way of doing things, this is.
It's different, yeah.
Well,
It is also going to go on YouTube, Councillor, so you'll be able to view yourself within 24 hours.
oh, I'm not doing that, John. My granddaughter calls me a dinosaur.
Well, she'll be able to see Grandad on YouTube now.
Oh, no. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Councillor.
And please
Bye.
keep safe. Keep safe.
Thank you.
And you, sir. And you.
Thanks all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Andy, Ruth, good to see you again.